What would you say you do here?
Well, look, I already told you. I deal with the goddamn customers so the engineers don't have to. I have people skills. I am good at dealing with people. Can't you understand that? What the hell is wrong with you people?
Welcome back to Thinking Critical. This is Wes. We've got our social media correspondent back here on the channel, Aaron Sparrow, comic book writer, the man that brings home 5 figures a week at least. How you doing, Aaron?
Doing fantastic, Wes.
We've been seeing, obviously within comic books, we've been seeing, creators and other, influencers within comic books like to go out there and they like to troll the audience. They like to be provocative, kind of mess with them a little bit. And that's all well and good. If you want to go out there and mass block people, that's your business. I think if you're a comic book creator and you're using block bots, you're a terrible businessman because you're literally blocking out people that would potentially give you money, but it's their social media accounts. They can kind of do what you want. In one specific case, I can't ever remember this guy's name. He used to write for Bleeding Cool. He's kind of fat. He's the dude that does the gay comics.
Oh, Joe Glass.
That guy. So he's out there and he's been, I think you saw this where he was saying that comic books are not a customer like service industry.
Yeah, I pushed back on that immediately when I saw that tweet. I mean, I didn't name him because, anytime that you refute anybody's opinion on Twitter, you get accused of harassing them, even when they say something ridiculously stupid. So I, as Joe Glass did in this case, so I pushed back on it. I said, customers, comics is absolutely a customer service business. Anytime you are producing a product, a superfluous product that is not necessary for people's lives, and you are asking them to spend their hard-earned money on it, you're goddamn right you're in the customer service business.
I don't know why he chooses to go out there and do this. He creates a lot of bad will amongst people that buy comic books, and he apparently wants to sell comic books. But that's not the only thing he wants to sell these days, Aaron. If you didn't notice, he actually went back out on social media and was letting everyone know that money was a little tight. And me personally, I could understand that. We're in a pandemic. There's some inflation. Things aren't exactly going great on the economies. There's probably a lot of people that could use some help right now. I just think it's weird that you would go out there on the same platform that you've been dissing people, telling them that their opinions don't matter and that other comic creators shouldn't listen to them or take their wants and needs as a customer into account while they're creating their comic books, and then go out there and ask these same people for money as times have not been good for you. Perhaps you could help yourself out by appreciating your customers a little bit more, reaching out and stop being a dick all the time.
I mean, that's absolutely true. As somebody who, I'm not a big fan of e-begging, which a lot of these creators resort to anytime they need something. They're out there, rattling the tin cup. I'm more of somebody who's like, well, you need to knuckle down. You need to get out there. If you got to get a second job, you got to get a second job. You just got to make it happen. It's not up to everybody else to support you, especially when you have been nasty to them. But I have run 2 GoFundMes in the past. One was because I had a pet who needed surgery or needed a lot of medical care, and money was really tight. And my choice was either putting the pet down or asking people to help. But what I did was we basically put out comic books. We said, if you donate, I will send you signed books. And so that's what we did. So I still had copies of the Darkwing Omnibus at that point. If people donated at a certain level, they got a signed copy of that. If or lesser level, they got signed copies of the individual issues. I tried to give them something back for helping. And you don't see that from these people. Like, I've seen artists.
Well, he did put a link to his website where you could buy his comic books.
Yeah, but nobody wants to buy his comic books, and that's why he's so bitter. That's why he hates customers, and but it's cyclical. It's the Ouroboros, the snake devouring its own tail. You're rude to customers, and then your books don't sell, and then you're bitter that people didn't buy your books, and so you get angrier and you insult the customers more, thus making even less money. It's a very ridiculous philosophy, and it's a big reason why you don't see. I've seen Joe Glass out there complaining about the fact that he didn't get put on like the DC Pride books, because that's his whole identity. His whole identity is, I write gay comics. And that's fine if that's what you want to do, but DC doesn't owe you a spot on those books.
But do you write good gay comics? That's the question.
That's the big question, and I cannot say, because I have not read Joe Glass's work, particularly because he doesn't believe in customer service. And if you insult the customers, I'm far less likely to pick up or to even give a chance to anything that you've written. I don't want to give money to people that I feel have contempt for me. So if Joe was better, and this is just solid advice for Joe or for anybody who has that kind of mentality, you need to let that go. You need to let go of your bitterness. You need to be a happier person. You need to have more joy in your life, and you need to try to spread joy instead of trying to constantly vent your angers and frustrations. That's poisoning you. That's poisoning your soul. It's poisoning your business. It's poisoning, any chance that you have to sell things to customers. You've got to let that go. You've got to treat people the way that you want to be treated. And if you do that, you're going to start to see people giving you a chance. Social media is very unforgiving. It's filled with a bunch of sociopaths that don't believe in forgiveness, that don't believe that people should be allowed to make mistakes, even though we often find out after the fact that they are terrible people who have done terrible things. But the fact of the matter is, every single person on the planet, including myself, has done stupid, terrible things, to other people. And the way a society works is you have to be able to realize that, and you have to be able to come back from it. And this and the readers are very forgiving. If Joe Glass would have if he were to come out and he were to kind of like just remake his image and adjust his attitude and be more friendly.
Do the Aubrey Citizen?
Yes, look at the success that Aubrey's having. Now, I honestly believe, I know Aubrey. I don't know him well, but we've had conversations and I've met him. And I do believe that Aubrey, being a big wrestling fan, was basically playing a heel character.
It was a heel turn.
Yeah, I think he was being a heel, and he thought that maybe that would work, and it would give him kind of an interesting persona. Because I've met Aubrey and I've had conversations with him, and he is a nice guy. But I think that that's also the double-edged sword of social media, is that you can have conversations with people in person, and you get a real sense of their personality, but sometimes
you can hear the sarcasm, you can see the expressions on their faces that maybe they're not 100% serious, or they're trying to get a laugh out of you.
Yeah, or they're doing a bit, and so you can discern that in real life, but on social media it doesn't come across. So I think that Aubrey realized, oh man, this is not serving me. This is not doing well, and then he did a face turn. And he became more customer service friendly, and he put out Beef Bros, and it funded. He made some good money. He's doing work at Dark Horse. He had that book, what is it? Everybody Must Fight, or I can't remember the title of it, but it was a big fight book, and that did well too. So you can turn it around. And my feeling for Joe is that don't be too far gone. Don't be too invested in this hate and this bitterness. Turn your life around. Turn your business around.
Every tweet on social media, every Facebook post is, if you have like a business, Facebook account that's not personal, every time you go out, on Instagram and you post something, you're making a first impression with somebody, or you're changing other people's impression of you. Do you really want it to be negative? Do you really want to feed the people the impression that even if your work is good, they just despise you enough that they don't want to give you their money? You want them to think, you know what? I read the last Aubrey Citizen comic book. It wasn't great, but Aubrey's funny, and I don't mind giving it another chance.
Yeah. It's like, maybe that book wasn't my cup of tea, but I did like some things about it, and this concept appeals to me more, so I'll give him another shot. And then maybe you end up really liking that book, and then maybe you end up being a fan of Aubrey, and you continue to buy his stuff. Some people can do heel, Aaron, and can do very well because they have a good way of doing it where they're pretty exciting. They bring people in, they're engaging, they're witty with their retorts and everything. But not everybody's funny. Not everybody's good with the zingers. Sometimes when you're trying to do that and you're trying to be part of the conversation, some people they come off as complete dicks. Yeah, it's the difference between coming off kind of fun and look at MJF and AEW. Look at his Twitter. He insults people all the time. Bad. But did you see the one where the dude came up in a wheelchair and he immediately stood up and he said, "Excuse me, where I come from, we stand to shake hands." Yeah. But you know what? That guy who rolled up to him knew what he was going to get. He knew he was going to get something. He was a fan. And the fans understand, like if Roddy Piper, so recently, I'll tell a story from Bell County Comic Con. I was sitting in the shuttle bus for guests, and Honky Tonk Man and Sergeant Slaughter were in the back. And I have
lucky
no
son of a bitch. I want a chair shot.
Oh my god! Well, I did get a Cobra Clutch before the end of the show, but I'm an extrovert. I have no problem talking to people. I like people. I'm generally very interested in people and their stories. And I've got this perfect opportunity. I've got these two like monster, superstars from the glory days of wrestling sitting right behind me. So I turn around and I start talking to him, and I start telling Honky Tonk how much I hated him as a kid. Like, I just absolutely despised you. I said, and then I hit an age where I realized that's what you wanted, and that you had manipulated me into hating you. And then I liked you even more. Like, I was like, I still hated you, but I liked the fact that I hated you, because now I felt like I was in on it, and he was like, yeah, that's, he like talked about the psychology of the business, and it was a lot of fun. And that's what MJF is doing. And that's why a fan of MJF who rolls up in that wheelchair will get it and will dig it, because he knows he's part of the show. And that's kind of like a neat feeling. So, but like somebody on the outside would be like, oh my God, I can't believe he did that, and clutch their pearls. But
not everybody can pull that kind of stuff off. You really have to know who you are and how you come off to other people. That's why you have to have good friends. If I have something that I'm not sure how it went, I would ask you. I'll be like, hey, Aaron, did I come off as a dick here? What's going on here? And I know that you'll actually be honest with me.
Yeah, I absolutely will. Obviously, my perspective will not encompass everybody's, but I know you, so I know where you're coming from. I have friends who, we say horrible things to each other, just to try to get a laugh. And it's not, the joke isn't, oh my God, we're saying this horrible thing and we're being horrible about this person because they're the joke. The joke is, isn't it horrible that I said this? Aren't I a terrible person? Like, isn't this
What's
funny?
the worst thing that I can say with a straight face to you?
Yeah, I think Louis C.K. had a whole bit about it where it was like, there's the part of his brain that's like, well, of course. And then there's the other part that's like, but maybe. And he goes through a whole bit where he says, of course we should have EpiPens available for, kids who have peanut allergies and things like that. We should have those everywhere. So in case there's ever an incident, they can be immediately taken care of and everything will be fine. But then there's a dark part of my brain that goes, but maybe if we just ignored the problem for a year, we wouldn't have to worry about it anymore. And it's like a horrible thing to say, and the audience laughs because the joke is, isn't it horrible that I had that thought? And then he goes on and he talks about some other things.
I remember the Bill Burr, when he segues to a joke, he says, you know what's hilarious about sexual assault? And the entire crowd just starts laughing because there's nothing hilarious about sexual assault. But he said it.
I was about to say something really dumb. Like, he has a joke, he tells a joke about, an anecdote about some people that got fired because at a bar they had a billboard up that said, on a chalkboard it was written, at this bar we like our beer like we like our violence, domestic. And somebody came in and complained, and they were like, well, that's it's just our sense of humor here. If you don't like it, that's cool, but that's we're not going to change it. And then that person took a picture, put it on social media. There was a big outcry, and the bar people got fired. And it's just one of those things where it's like, the joke isn't about domestic violence. The joke is like, take Dennis Reynolds from Always Sunny in Philadelphia, who says some truly terrible things. All those characters on that show are terrible. And the joke isn't at the expense of the people they're being terrible to. The joke is, aren't they awful? And we should laugh at them, and we should be glad when they don't succeed at the end of the episode because they're terrible people. That's the joke. And we've kind of lost that nuance and we've kind of gone far afield here talking about customer service in the comic book industry. But it all ties in. You can I think my Twitter account can be a little bit opinionated and a little bit spicy, but I'm generally, unless you come at me in a really rude and obnoxious and terrible way, I'm going to be nice to you. And even if you're rude to me, I'm probably going to be nice to you until you push me to a point, because I understand that this is not real life. And if we were having a conversation in person, it would probably go very differently, because you would get the nuance of what I was saying. You would hear the tone in my voice and the way that I'm speaking to you. I tell that to people with, I've told that to people that I've dated, and I've told that to people that, I've been friends with, is when they'll take offense to something that I text them, or it'll come off the wrong way. And I just tell them, I say, have I ever spoken to you with disrespect? And they're like, no. And I said, okay, then why would you assume that I'm texting you with disrespect? Try to read my text. Sometimes I'm just being blunt and quick because I'm in a hurry and I just need to respond to you very quickly. And so it comes off as very blunt. But If I wouldn't speak to you this way, why would I text you this way? So try to hear my text in the tone that I would say it to you. And that usually solves all the problems. I usually don't have any more misunderstandings with them, because then if they do misinterpret something, they'll ask. You can't do that.
All right. Let's talk about some misunderstanding. Let's see if you can misunderstand this one, Aaron. We have Jamila Rouser, who's done some Kickstarters in the past. I think her most successful one campaign, maybe it did 17,000. I might be overselling that one. I know she was successful, but it wasn't an enormous success. She had a tweet out that says, "Big news! I'm Kickstarter's new comics consultant," essentially replacing Camilla Zhang. Kickstarter was one of the reasons I felt I even had a chance in making comics the way I wanted to make them, and I can't wait to help other creators. Well, what a nice way to introduce yourself. And it turns out Jamila, who loves Kickstarter because they allow her to make comics the way she wants to, ends up, blocking a bunch of creators that would be going to Kickstarter to do their comic books. Is that the way that you should introduce yourself, as the new Kickstarter consultant?
No, I don't think so at all. I think that, who would make a great Kickstarter consultant? Somebody like me. Somebody like me who doesn't discriminate and would put out whatever book looked cool and whatever looked like it was going to deliver. That would be my my impetus. But and who doesn't have anybody blocked, who's not cut off from any potential customer, any potential revenue source for the creators that I would be working with.
Well, the revenue sources for Kickstarter. She's like blocking people that have like $100,000 campaigns.
Yeah.
That's jobs for Kickstarter employees. They get a portion of this stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just like when comic creators say, like, well, it doesn't, if you don't like my politics, or you don't like what I have to say, don't buy my books. And it's like, okay, that's fine for you, but what about the publisher that's paying you to sell those books? What about your creative team that depends on that paycheck for working on those books? You're now alienating customers and losing revenue for those people as well. It's a very selfish way to approach publishing and to approach selling a product to people. It's not just you. Like, look, if you own your own book and you do all the work from top to bottom, and there's nobody depending upon you, it's only you, then you know what? Hey, have fun. Do whatever it is that you want, say whatever you want, act however you want. But when you have other people depending on you and working with you, you have a responsibility to them. Even if you don't like the customer, you have a responsibility to your team to keep that book going and to make sales so they can continue to provide for their families. It's just it's selfish narcissism, and I don't have any interest in it. And unfortunately, the industry is infected with it right now. It's just, and you want to talk about—
What do you think would happen if Jamila wanted to do an Indiegogo campaign and then they found out that they were blocked by whoever, approves comic book campaigns at Indiegogo?
It's not going to be—
I think she would lose her shit.
I think so too. But you're asking for self-reflection from people who are largely incapable of it, and so that's a huge problem. And an even bigger problem is the fact that these companies continue to hire these people. I've said it before on this channel. I'll say it again. Stop hiring socialists and communists. Hire capitalists. Hire people that are interested in customer service. Hire people that are interested in telling good stories and building your brand and building their own brand, instead of sabotaging their brand and sabotaging you and your IP and your company's future. Stop hiring these people. What is the— It's
crazy. Literally, nobody, a vast majority of people, had no idea who this person was. They find out they're the new Kickstarter comic book consultant. They go to look at their page and they find out they're blocked immediately. What a way to make an impression.
You've started this new job for this new company, and you've already shot yourself in the foot.
You can't make this stuff up. I would say only in comic books, but only in America in 2021, like at this moment in time, can people be this out of touch and then expect you to just give them their money still. They're still entitled to it, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And then when their books don't sell, then they can go out and they can put up a GoFundMe and beg for money. Look at the situation that happened the other day with I commented on this on Twitter. Rosalind somebody, I don't even remember her name. She's already passed out of my consciousness. But basically attacked a white she attacked a white author for writing a book about noodles and dumplings, and was like, why is this white woman writing?
I think it's dumplings and noodles.
Dumplings and noodles. Okay. Why is this?
All I gotta say, Aaron, is what the fuck is spaghetti and ravioli if that's not dumplings and noodles?
Every culture on the face of the earth has some version of these foods.
Yes.
Because you know why? Because it was peasant food. And so it was the food that the populace could scrabble together and make, and it became a staple. And, there's different variations through different cultures. But the idea that a chef can't become passionate about one type of cuisine and specialize in that and then write a book about it, even though that's not her culture of origin, is absolutely ridiculous. And so this woman went on this rant, and Twitter rightfully pushed back. People were like, this is, you're being ridiculous. You're being an a-hole. And of course, then she doubled down. And
I bet they went further than that, but I get what you're saying.
I mean, I didn't see any of it in my replies. I didn't look at every reply. I'm sure there's people, it's the internet. So anything that you say,
Twitter. It's accessible.
It's Twitter. It's a place full of angry people who are there to intentionally misunderstand. But, even I called her out on it. And I was like, Pippa seems nice. And the girl who wrote the actual book, I said, she seems nice and she seems passionate about this. And it's what she wants to write. And who are you to be a nag and tell her that she can't write it? That's absolutely ridiculous. And, she doubled down on it and then, of course, put up the link for, her PayPal grift.
And then hit all of her tweets. And now I think her account's offline.
Yeah. And it's like, okay.
You wanted to say the thing, but you don't want the feedback, huh?
If she it's like you want the clout. You want everybody to applaud you and say, oh, how brave. And dogpile on this other woman, harass this other woman. That's what you wanted to make yourself feel good. But when the harassment turned back on you, all of a sudden it's a big problem. And it's like you were fomenting harassment towards.
Guess what they are, Aaron? Nazis. I got therapy I got therapy bills because of Nazis. Like,
and
maybe these are just normal human beings telling you to shut the fuck up. Stop being an asshole.
My dad told me when I was very young. I've got a wonderful stepdad, and he's probably the only reason that I'm not a criminal. Because he came in at a time when my brother and I were absolutely feral because of my mom. And one of the things that he taught us was, if you wake up in the morning and you start your day, and the first person you encounter is an asshole, and the second person's an asshole, and the third person's an asshole, and by the time you get home, you've done nothing but run into assholes all day long, maybe the asshole is you.
It's got a point. There's always one common denominator in the equation, right?
That's right. And scientifically, you've got to look at what is the common denominator. Oh,
everybody in this world is stupid. No, maybe it's just you.
I'll tell you, in the course of my day, I run into some people that are frustrating, and I run into people that are wonderful. And by and large, I run into more people that are wonderful. And I think part of that might be because of what I'm putting out there, because I approach people in a way where I'm very friendly and very outgoing, and so they respond in kind. And if I was approaching people really nasty, that's probably what I would get back. So, you really do get what you give. But yeah, I get out there, and it's why I'm like, people get off of Twitter and go out and actually like walk around outside and actually talk to people and try and engage with people, because you'll find that there's a lot of people out there that are absolutely wonderful to talk to.
But hey, not always in the comic book industry. It's just so weird the way that people have contempt for customers, the way they treat them. You can see Aubrey Sitterson, he's laid out the blueprint. You could have a negative Q rating and turn the sumbitch around. It ain't that hard. You just got to go out there. You don't even have to apologize. You just got to go put it out there, and people will notice the change.
I mean,
people like the dude from Bleeding Cool, they'll never get it. The Mags Visagios, who's also begging for money within the last couple weeks, they'll never get it. And certainly Jamila won't. They just won't get it.
I would love it if they would. I would like to see people turn themselves around, and I would like to see people be successful, and I would just like to see them be happier in their lives. It's like I don't, and I do think Audrey apologized to an extent. He didn't specifically come out and say these specific things that pissed you off, I apologize for, but he did come out and he did say, I realized that I had hurt myself by being this way. I had hurt my career. I had, damaged my reputation with other people, and I want to turn that around. And I think that was enough. That was enough of a. It is. It's an admission that, hey, I made some mistakes and I want to do differently. And people are, Twitter is not forgiving, but normal people who aren't mentally ill are very forgiving, because they want forgiveness in their own lives. They realize that we all screw up. We all make mistakes, and we need to be able to turn that around. And so they allow that for other people.
If you go out there and you treat people like shit, you tell them that their opinions don't matter, you don't get to go out there and ask for money next time. You kind of brought it on yourself. That's kind of the way I think about it.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, obviously there's some people that are will give them money, but that's there. Like I said, it's going to be diminishing returns over and over again. You keep rattling that cup, people are tired of it. People are realizing that maybe you're just a lazy grifter. We all have trouble now and then. We could all use a hand up, but you need to have goodwill from people in order to get that.
Karmically speaking, you need to set yourself up for success, and these people absolutely are not. Thank you so much, Aaron Sparrow. I appreciate the perspective, and we'll definitely talk to you again. We're going to be talking about toys soon.
Yes, we've finally coordinated to make this happen. So I'm pretty excited about that.